Well, that's typical. As is often the case recently, back in Snowdon. And this is the Watkin Path, sorry. So last time I was, sorry, I'll turn you around so you're not facing the sun. Last time I was up near Snowdon, I was over on, what's the miners track. This is a Watkin Path that comes from the other side. But my objective isn't Snowdon. So I'm not heading up there. I'm heading up there, which is Yr Aran. So the path splits here and I've got to go up that way. And the reason I'm going up there is I'm anticipating great views across the Snowdon range to Snowdon from up Yr Aran. And it's also one of the least visited mountains in the Snowdon range. So that alone's worth doing. So I'm going to head up the path. But I should say, just bumped into a guy called Mark. Hello, Mark. Mark was out with his family walking the dog further down the trail. And Mark's seen some of my films and 3 things he said, which is really nice. So thanks for watching, Mark. First thing he said is he enjoyed my films, which is great. Second thing he said is, why don't you move to Snowdonia because you're here so often, which is great as well. And I might have made the third one up. But the third thing he said was, I'm even better looking in real life than on film. So I definitely made that up. So, bit of a scramble up here. So, just come up the Watkin Path. I'll show you now. It's incredibly well marked, this path. It's a bit more of a scramble. So, but anyway, I did make that third thing up. But it's nice to bump into people that have seen my film. So, hope you make it to your destination, Mark, and hope I make it to mine. Next time I speak to you, hopefully I'll be much further up the trail. Now I know, looking at the maps and doing the research, this gets quite steep, so I'm ready for a bit of a scramble. It might take me a while, but you get the easy bit. You just watch me in the next couple of seconds and I'll be much further up. Wanted to give you, so just to say, there's Snowdon, Llywedd. The valley, you can't see where I was earlier, so, but I was down there and I've come up that way and up here. And I was going to wait until I got to the top to film, but I actually wanted to show you the reality, because often I think in my films I say, oh, I'm going to be up there, and then a second later I'm up at the top of the hill, up the mountain. But I wanted to show kind of the reality of what that means. It's bloody hard work. You know, not as young as I used to be. I'm closer to 50 than I am to 40. So coming up here, it probably doesn't look steep on the camera, but it's almost hands and knees, and I'm at 600 meters, and I think Aran is 700 meters at the summit. So there's 100 meters to go, but it's 100 meters of scrambling up this stuff. So my calf muscles are screeching. It's not a straightforward walk. It's rough underfoot, and as you can probably tell, it's getting me out of breath. Well, here's a classic bit. I've more or less got to scramble up here and use my hands. So it's climbing, scrambling, not really walking. But there's the summit. So a bit to go, but it's going to be worth it. So you now can see where I first spoke to you. I was right down there in the valley. I came up there, up here, and it's taken me about an hour from there to here. Whoop. So not sure how long that's going to take, maybe another 20 minutes, but maybe it's just an excuse for me to stop and talk to you. But I'm keep going. Made it to the top. Blimey, that was hard work, really hard work. So when I spoke to you before, I was down there and it was a tough climb, but look at my reward. Snowdon. How's that? How's that for a reward? And there will be thousands, hundreds, maybe thousands of people on top of Snowdon today. Those of you, I know there's people overseas watching this. There's actually a train goes to the summit of Snowdon. There'll be thousands of people up there, all looking at me. Got it to myself. Absolutely, I could run round in the mud. I won't. I could run round in the mud, and a bit chilly for that, but got it all to myself. So I've just, the summit is actually just over there. That's actually higher than here. But I was looking for a composition and I'm going to come here. So I've left my bag over there. So I'll go and get my bag. It's a bit easier walking without a bag on. Maybe if Manfrotto ever watch my films, can I please have a super lightweight tripod? Because I think the heaviest thing in my bag is the tripod. I'd love one that didn't weigh anything, or can someone else carry it up for me? So summit's just here. You can see beautiful light on Snowdon there. So I hope you're going to catch that. And then I think, now I might have confused this in my mind, but somewhere in the very back of my mind, I think there was a helicopter crash on here. And I think that's what, you can smell diesel, and it's a few years ago, but I can smell diesel in the burn, and I think, I might be wrong, I'll check when I get back, but I think there was a helicopter crash just here, and I think everybody survived, but I'll check when I get back. So this is the summit. It's a less than impressive cairn, but actually, if I try and take images here, there's no foreground interest, although having said that, it's just that this mini summit here blocks out that valley view. So that's Y Llwedd. So in my video from Y Llwedd, I was just over, I don't know if you can see, there's like two peaks and then another peak that pokes up. I was on that peak photographing that way. And great light in the valley. But I think I'll be better down there. So I'm going to go and set up on that peak over there. I'm actually going to put another coat on because it's a bit chilly. But yeah, I'm still recovering from that hike. It's quite windy up here. I might even put another coat on. So I'm all set up. Camera is set, manual mode. And what I'm waiting for is there's clouds blowing in, so there's light running across every now and then. So I'm just waiting for some lights to blow up on the side of Snowdon and the approach to Snowdon to give me a kind of nice bit of contrast. So a little bit light down there at the moment, so you can see in the valley, it's kind of nice dappled light. So at the moment there's a big cloud sat up there, but looks like it's moving, so it's just a waiting game. But I'll just run you through the settings because people asked questions last time, and I always like to resolve any issues. So on F11 I've used hyperfocal distance to pre-focus. So my previous video was all about hyperfocal distance, so check that out, but I focused essentially on a spot just down here. I'm on F11, ISO 100, and it's given me an exposure about 1/50th of a second. Now, someone asked, I think it was Michael, asked a really good question when I was talking about hyperfocal distance, because I hope you can see this is not reflecting too badly. I was talking about hyperfocal distance, and then I was showing the back of my camera, and Michael noticed that I talked about hyperfocal distance, the point being kind of down here somewhere. I can see, I don't know if you can see my finger, and so I've focused down there. But then he said, quite rightly, how come you focus squares up there if you're focusing down there for hyperfocal distance? And the reason being is I've pre-focused and then I've switched to manual focus. So the focus is set on my hyperfocal point down there, and as long as I don't fiddle with the lens, it'll stay set there. Now the reason I have my focus square up there is, well, there's two reasons. One, it means I can zoom in and on live view and check that I am getting a good level of detail on Snowdon, but also it allows me to take my light reading up there. And what I'm doing, as you can see at the moment, it's covering across the top of Snowdon and the sky. So when I press my focus button, it takes a light reading from up there. So if I move it around, you can, I don't know if you can see this, but you can see the exposure reading at the bottom has changed because I've moved. If I move it back up into the sky, exposure reading changes again. So one, I've already focused, and two, that means I can select in my image where I think there's a balance of light that would allow the best exposure. So I hope that makes sense. I can manually move that square around now, and it won't alter the focus, but it will alter the light reading and allow me to manually look at, actually I think what I would usually do is look at a contrast between maybe the sky and the mountain, or if the light is pretty even on something neutral like the grass. So I hope that makes sense. That's why that square isn't on the hyperfocal spot. It's because I've already focused on there. So I hope that makes sense. So now I'm just waiting for some of that light to come, and I can see kind of blue sky over there, and there's light moving along. So hopefully some of that will shoot up the side, and we'll be in business. Promised that cloud had moved, didn't I? So taking images. Lovely light at the moment, lovely contrast between the kind of the light and the shade. Nice little bit of cloud on top of Snowdon, so I'm quite happy. Lovely light down in the valley. It's quite hard to do kind of one-handed, but I'm going for a little bit of a, not a massive panorama, but I just want to be able to get Y USM into that image as well. So one of the reasons I came here to Yr Aran is doing my research. So I spend quite a lot of time, I'm a bit of a map nerd, so looking at maps, looking at Google Maps. Google Maps is brilliant for planning for photography, because if you go into the 3D mode and then if you hold down control, you can move your mouse around and go in all sorts of different angles. So I looked at the maps, went into Google Maps, and I knew that if I was here, that there's a ridge running directly ahead of me up to Snowdon. And I also knew that if I came in the afternoon rather than the morning, the light would be shining on this side of the ridge rather than that side of the ridge. So I wanted the sun on this side, shadows on that side, and Snowdon in a little bit of shadow. But I couldn't have planned for the cloud. I knew the weather forecast said kind of this type of weather, but I couldn't plan for the cloud. So quite pleased that all the other planning came to fruition. It's just a bonus that there's a nice little bit of cloud fluffing over the top of Snowdon. So the composition's fairly straightforward. I'll put live view on. I'll brighten that so you can see. Composition wise, that ridge that's running up Snowdon, slap bang on my rule of thirds on the third, on the left hand side, because I think that works quite well. So hopefully you can see the kind of quite a nice composition there. And I'm including these rocks in the foreground because I want to give a sense of kind of the depth and the scale. But that's pretty good at the moment. So it's going to underexpose a little bit, not that much. But that's pretty nice, isn't it? Hopefully even the GoPro's picking that. It's a pretty nice view. So I hope you can see what I was trying to achieve. One of the things that I'm constantly looking at, there's dry stone walls run right up almost to the top of here, and I'm thinking, the poor beggars who built those stone walls. I don't know, again, might be another one of those things I've made up, but I have a feeling as well that quite a lot of the dry stone walls were made by prisoners. But it was hard enough carrying a camera up here. Imagine having to carry all that stuff up. But anyway, that's by the by. hopefully you can see. I've got my polarizer on just to darken the sky, the blue in the sky a little bit. I don't really need any other filter in, but I've got my polarizer on just because it drops the blue in the sky down to a deeper blue. So yeah, I'm pretty pleased. It's a bit too bright now. Am I ever happy? Am I ever happy? It's a bit too bright at the moment, so I want a little bit of kind of dappledy clouds running across, but it's just a matter of kind of waiting for things to happen. So, and there's the sea. There's the Irish Sea there. So, well, other than it being really, really cold, I couldn't ask for better conditions. Look at that now. But I just mentioned my using my polarizer. So, how am I going to do this? I'll show you the effect of a polarizer. So, hopefully you can see this. Keep your eye on the sky. It's a circulating polarizer. So when I spin the polarizer, look at, you see the blue in the sky? Now that is all blown out. Hopefully you can see that. But as I spin the polarizer, you can see it then drops. Look at the difference it makes. See that? You see? Hopefully you can see that. So it really has an impact on the sky, and helps to take what is, you know, it's a beautiful blue sky, but it helps takes kind of the bright blue and turn it into a nice navy blue almost. Just thought I'd share that with you. A lot of people use polarizers. I use polarizers a lot when I'm photographing water because it takes that that sheen off the water, but it's also great for helping you with your blue skies. I've got, you might see now, I've got 2 coats on. It's still cold. So I bet there's some idiots on the top of Snowdon in shorts and t-shirts. I've got shorts on, but I've not got a t-shirt on. So hopefully gave you an idea what I'm using my polarizer for. So take a few more shots and then I'm back on my way down. So I've come down off the summit. I was up there, sorry about the sun, I was up there a bit. And the reason I've come down is I like a bit of a cliche. So there's an old rusted post here. I guess there used to be a fence. Well, why would there be a fence here? But it looks like an old fence post. And what I'm going to try and do is work a panorama around, starting with Snowdon, and work that way, and hopefully get the fence post in the middle. The bit of a challenge I've been having is when the sun comes out, it leaves my shadow. So I'm going to work on the panorama, and I'll just undo that a little bit, and I'm good to go. So there's one. There's the fence post. 2. Fence post again. 3. Let's see how we keep going. 4. So that might work out. It might be a bit too cliche and I might hate it and I might press delete angrily in Lightroom. The challenge I had been having is because the sun is coming and going, my shadow was falling here, and what you don't want. It's one of those things just to keep a kind of an eye out for. It's really easy to do, is to take a photograph, and then when you get home and look on the screen, your shadow is slap bang in the photograph. Nobody really wants to see that. So with the sun coming and going, had to wait for there to be shadow here but sun there, because editing out a shadow on that type of rock would be a real challenge. I was going to say something rude there, but look at that. Look, fluffy blue cloud, fluffy blue clouds, fluffy white clouds, blue sky. Who needs to go to the Mediterranean? It's beautifully warm. It's actually freezing. I did have a chat with a couple of people on my way up who were all togged up, and they were coming down and they said how cold it was on the top. It is freezing. When you're down in the valley it's lovely, but up here it's very cold. So anyway, I think that might be it now. I might do that again, just as a insurance, and then I'm heading down. I bumped into a guy. I hope he doesn't watch, because I'm going to say he was maybe 80, but he says he comes up Snowdon all the time. Every weekend he's in Snowdonia somewhere, and he looked as fit as a fiddle. But I met him coming down there, and he said, why don't you go back down, follow the wall down? So I'm taking his advice. I'm going to follow that wall. So if I get stuck, it's his fault. But I think I'll take the panorama a couple more times, and then head off back down and see what time it is. 5:25. So yeah, probably time to head down. Well, I'm on my way down. Actually, I'm not far from where I first spoke to you, but it's still a little way to go. But the advice from the old fella to follow the wall down was really good until the wall runs out, and then there is a path there, and there is a path here. Feel like I feel like I was bloody Ray Mears coming down there, like tracking a deer or something. You would never find that path in the summer coming down. Once the grass has grown up a bit, you would never find it. I've literally been going kind of from bit to bit, looking at kind of where the grass is a little bit trampled down here, and there's a footprint there. I feel like I've earned my Scout's tracking badge or something. Really, really hard to keep to the track. But yeah, it was a nice route down, but that is ridiculous. So if you're ever up there, don't follow that track down, because you won't follow the track, you'll get lost. But anyway, I just last bit of sun. Almost down to the proper path now. Back to where it all began. Probably only 15 minutes for you, but back to where I started talking to you. It's about 6:25, and I think I spoke to you originally about 3 o'clock, so it's kind of 3.5 hours up and down. So the sun is shining quite brightly, but I was up on the very top of that. Yr Aran. So probably got another 20 minutes. So the path now is, don't need to be Ray Mears to find this path, but probably another 20 minutes to get back to the car, and then about, I don't know, 2-hour drive home. So hopefully cold beer waiting in the fridge for me. So hope you've enjoyed that. What I will do is I'll put in the grid references, because someone asked, sorry, I'm not looking at the camera, I've got to look at my feet. Someone asked for details for where some of the walks are, so I'll try and remember to put in the grid references. So I'll put the grid reference in for where I started the walk, in here somewhere, and I'll also put the grid reference in for the top of Yr Aran, so that you can have a look in the maps and see exactly where it is. So thank you very much for watching. Another shout out to Mark. You're probably at home having a kind of beer and something. So hope you had a good walk. Thanks to all the new subscribers. I think since I shot my last video, I've added about 50 new subscribers, and it seems to be that I'm adding kind of 50 a week for the next couple of weeks, which is wonderful. So thank you all so much. I really appreciate it. I hope you enjoy this trip to Snowdonia. As always, drop me a comment below if you've got any questions, or you know, anything really. I like having those chats. Be great if you're not a subscriber, please do smash on my face when you see that circle come up with your pointer, and you can subscribe. And thank you for watching. I do appreciate it, and I'm off to Cumbria for a couple of days later this week, so probably the next film, weather dependent, will be from Cumbria. So look out for that, and see you soon. Cheers.